Lucas Crane had learned to navigate Lincoln High's hallways with practiced precision. At 17, 3 years of maneuvering his wheelchair through crowded corridors had taught him timing, patience, and most importantly, how to avoid trouble. "Wheels is blocking the hallway again," came Cole Dawson's familiar sneer. The 18-year-old king of Lincoln High approached with his usual swagger. Letterman jacket worn like armor, flanked by his loyal crew, Ryan, Cole, Travis, and Zack. Lucas kept his eyes forward, continuing toward physics class. He'd learned that engaging only made things worse. His backpack, heavy with robotics components and programming textbooks, provided small comfort, a reminder of worlds where logic prevailed over brute force. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. "I'm talking to you, Wheels," Cole persisted, reaching over to shove Lucas's chair from behind. "Maybe if you weren't so damn slow, the rest of us wouldn't always be late." The corridor quieted as other students slowed their pace, eyes darting between the scene and the floor. No one wanted to watch, but no one was brave enough to intervene. Miss Perkins glanced their way from her classroom door, but quickly looked away. The unspoken policy at Lincoln High was clear. Unless blood was spilled, teachers stayed out of student conflicts. From across the hallway, Mia Jensen watched with clenched fists. At 17, she'd been Lucas's friend since childhood, back when they used to race bikes down hills that now seemed impossible for him to navigate. Her auburn hair fell around her shoulders as she stepped forward. "Leave him alone, Cole," Mia called out, her petite frame dwarfed by the group, but her determination unwavering. Cole turned with an amused smirk. "Oh look, the cavalry arrives. What are you going to do about it, Jensen?" "It's fine, Mia," Lucas said quietly, though nothing about this was fine. As he finally reached his classroom, his mind wasn't on electromagnetic fields, but on the robotics project in his garage. Small servo motors and Arduino boards that responded to commands without judgment. Code that executed flawlessly regardless of who wrote it. Technology didn't discriminate. In that digital realm, intelligence was the only currency that mattered. The following Tuesday brought perfect autumn weather that made Lincoln High's courtyard the social center. Lucas chose a table near the edge, close enough to feel included, but far enough to avoid unwanted attention. His laptop balanced on the table as he worked on a programming problem, a sorting algorithm elegant in its simplicity. Well, what do we have here?" Cole's voice carried across the courtyard. He approached with his usual swagger, Ryan and the others flanking him. "Looks like our resident tech nerd is playing with his toys again." Lucas didn't look up, fingers continuing to type. Sometimes ignoring them entirely was enough to make them lose interest. "I'm talking to you, Wheels," Cole said, snapping the laptop shut, narrowly missing Lucas's fingers. "What's so important that you can't acknowledge your betters?" "Just working on an assignment," Lucas replied evenly, hands moving to protect his laptop. Travis spotted something that made his eyes light up. He reached into Lucas's backpack and pulled out a small rectangular device with LED lights and tiny sensors. "What is this thing?" Cole demanded, holding it up. "Some kind of weird phone?" "It's not a phone," Lucas said quickly, reaching for it. "Please, just give it back." But Cole tossed it to Ryan, who fumbled the catch. The device hit concrete with a sickening crack, and Lucas watched in horror as one LED display flickered and died. "Oops," Ryan said with false innocence. "Sorry about that, Wheels." "That was completely unnecessary," came a new voice. Mr. Thompson, the robotics teacher, approached with a stern expression. He bent down, examining the broken device with obvious expertise. "This is impressive work, Lucas. Custom sensor array. Microprocessor integration. Where did you learn to build this?" Lucas blinked in surprise. In 3 years, no teacher had shown interest in his projects. "I taught myself. Online tutorials mostly." Thompson nodded approvingly, then addressed Cole's group. "I think you gentlemen have somewhere else to be." After they dispersed, Thompson sat across from Lucas. "Tell me about this. What was it designed to do?" "Proximity sensor with adaptive response capabilities," Lucas said quietly. "For navigation assistance." Thompson smiled. "I've been looking for students to join our robotics team. We're preparing for state competition, and we could use someone with your skills." "Interested?" Lucas stared. The robotics team had access to advanced equipment and unlimited supplies. It meant working with students who valued intelligence over social status. "I'd like that," he said finally. "I'd like that a lot." As the lunch bell rang, Lucas carefully placed his broken device in his backpack. It could be repaired. And with better equipment, he could build something even more sophisticated. Something that would ensure he never felt helpless again. The robotics lab became Lucas's sanctuary. Located in the basement, it was a cluttered maze of workbenches and components that looked like paradise to him. Mr. Thompson had given him key card access after just 1 week, unprecedented trust that spoke to both Lucas's skill and Thompson's recognition of something special. Most afternoons, after hallways emptied, Lucas hunched over workbenches, soldering circuits with the intensity of someone solving personal puzzles. His official project was a line-following robot for competition. His unofficial project was something far more ambitious. He called it the Guardian Protocol. The idea had crystallized during another encounter when Travis deliberately knocked Lucas's books from his lap. As Lucas gathered scattered papers while students walked past avoiding eye contact, he'd thought about defensive systems. Not weapons. He had no interest in hurting anyone. But what if he could create protection? Something that could neutralize the advantage physical intimidation provided. The technical challenges were significant. The device needed multiple sensor types: motion detection, facial recognition, audio analysis. It required a compact but powerful processor for real-time decisions. Most importantly, it needed response mechanisms that were effective but non-harmful. "Working late again?" Mia's voice startled him. She stood in the doorway at nearly 6 p.m. "How did you get in?" Lucas asked. "Janitor's entrance," she grinned, stepping inside and looking around curiously. "I figured I'd find you here. You've been disappearing lately." Lucas felt guilty. Since joining robotics, he'd been spending less time with Mia, canceling study sessions and declining invitations. "Sorry," he said, setting down his soldering iron. "I've just been focused on this competition robot." Mia approached his workbench, studying the components. "This doesn't look like any competition robot I've seen." "Lucas, what are you really working on?" He considered deflecting but decided on honesty. "It's a defense system. Something that could help me help anyone deal with bullies without physical confrontation." "Defense system?" Mia's expression mixed concern and frustration. "Lucas, that sounds like you're building a weapon." "It's not a weapon, Mia. It's a tool, a way to even the odds." "Even the odds against who? Cole?" Mia studied his face. "I know what he did was awful, but this isn't the answer. This could get you expelled." "And what's the alternative?" Lucas's emotions finally broke through. "Keep taking it? Keep pretending that ignoring them will make them leave me alone? How's that working?" Mia was quiet, then reached out and placed her hand over his. "You're not helpless, Lucas. You're one of the smartest people I know. You just need to find the right way to use that intelligence." "That's what I'm trying to do," he said, gesturing toward his project. "This isn't about revenge. It's about protection." After Mia left, Lucas returned to work with renewed focus. This wasn't just about building a device, it was about reclaiming his agency, proving that intelligence and creativity were forms of strength that couldn't be taken away. The Guardian Protocol would be his way of walking away, not in retreat, but in triumph. Thursday morning brought the first test of the Guardian protocol. Lucas had spent the previous evening making final adjustments. The device now compact enough to conceal in his backpack while maintaining full functionality. The system was elegant, motion sensors detecting threats, a speaker for warning tones, and a pneumatic system deploying lightweight deterrence. Everything controlled by Arduino-based processors running code Lucas had refined through dozens of iterations. Lunch period arrived with Lucas positioning himself at his usual courtyard table, though today he'd chosen a spot with clear sightlines and multiple exit routes. The device was active, sensors sweeping systematically. Well, Cole's voice carried across the courtyard. Look who's sitting all by himself again. Where's your girlfriend today, Wheels? Lucas kept his expression neutral as Cole approached with Ryan and Travis. The device had detected their movement, sensors tracking approach vectors and calculating responses. A soft vibration indicated system readiness. Just eating lunch, Lucas replied calmly. Is there something you need? Cole laughed sharply. I need you to show respect when your betters are talking. He flicked Lucas's sandwich off the table into a puddle. Oops, made a mess. Familiar anger rose in Lucas's chest, tempered by anticipation. For the first time in 3 years, he wasn't helpless. That was unnecessary, Lucas said steadily. Travis reached for Lucas's backpack, probably to dump its contents as before. But this time, his hand never made contact. The Guardian protocol. Activated with a soft hiss, deploying a fine mist of harmless but irritating pepper substitute that sent Travis stumbling backward, clutching his eyes and coughing. What the hell? Cole spun around. What did you do? I didn't do anything. Lucas said truthfully. The system was automated. Maybe Travis should be more careful. A crowd gathered as Cole took a step toward Lucas. The Guardian protocol detected aggressive approach and responded. A sharp, piercing tone from Lucas's backpack, not harmful but startling and disorienting. Cole stumbled, covering his ears, while bright LED flashes temporarily impaired vision. Make it stop! Ryan shouted, but Lucas remained motionless, hands visible on the table. Mr. Thompson appeared at the crowd's edge. His eyes assessed the situation. Travis coughing, Cole disoriented by continuing audio-visual assault, and Lucas sitting calmly. What's going on here? Thompson demanded. He attacked us, Cole accused. He's got some kind of weapon. Thompson's gaze shifted to Lucas. Would you mind turning off your navigation assistance device? I think it might be malfunctioning. Lucas reached into his backpack and pressed a concealed button. The sounds and lights stopped immediately. Navigation. Assistance? Cole demanded. The kind designed to detect and deter obstacles, Thompson replied smoothly. Quite sophisticated. Perhaps if you'd approached more carefully, you wouldn't have triggered its defensive protocols. The crowd dispersed, disappointed the confrontation. Ended anticlimactically. But Lucas caught admiring glances and heard whispers. Dawson got owned by a computer program. After Cole's group stalked away, Thompson approached. Impressive work. Though I suspect that device has capabilities beyond simple navigation. Lucas met his teacher's gaze. It responds to predetermined parameters, nothing more. Thompson nodded. Just remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Technology is a tool. How we use it defines who we are. As Thompson walked away, Lucas felt triumph mixed with uncertainty. The Guardian protocol had worked perfectly, neutralizing threats without real harm. But he could see in Cole's eyes that this had escalated things to a new level. The war was no longer one-sided. And Lucas wasn't sure what Cole might do when he realized the rules had fundamentally changed. Friday afternoon brought the confrontation Lucas had been dreading and anticipating. Most students had left for the weekend, gathering in the gymnasium for a pep rally. Lucas was heading to the robotics lab when he encountered Cole near the science wing. This time, Cole wasn't alone. He'd brought backup: Ryan, Travis, Zack, and 2 other football players. 6 against 1 in a deserted hallway with no teachers in sight. "If it isn't our resident mad scientist," Cole said, his voice echoing off. "Empty walls. Going to hide in your lab all weekend?" Lucas stopped, calculating distances and angles. The Guardian protocol was active, modified since the courtyard incident with new response options and improved threat assessment algorithms. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. "Just working on some projects," Lucas replied calmly despite surging adrenaline. "Nothing that would interest you." "But it does interest me," Cole said, stepping closer. "I've been thinking about our encounter. You've been holding out on us with that fancy computer trick." The boys spread out, forming a semicircle classic intimidation designed to make targets feel trapped. But Lucas had anticipated this scenario, programming specific responses for exactly this threat pattern. "I don't want trouble," Lucas said, hands moving to his wheels while positioning himself for optimal deployment and activating advanced defensive mode. "You've already got trouble," Cole said. "Question is what we're going to do about it." Ryan stepped forward. "Maybe we should examine that backpack, see what other tricks he's hiding." That was the trigger: multiple hostiles, aggressive positioning. Reaching toward protected area. The Guardian protocol activated with ruthless efficiency. First came Sonic Response Multi-Frequency Pulse designed for maximum disorientation without permanent damage. Sound hit the group like physical force, sending them stumbling with hands over ears. Before recovery, Visual Deterrent activated. High-intensity LED strobes that temporarily overwhelmed vision with frequency, patterns calculated to induce disorientation and mild nausea. Zack pushed through the assault and lunged toward Lucas. Proximity sensors detected approach and deployed the most advanced feature: a smartphone-sized drone ejecting from Lucas's backpack with whirring rotors. The drone hovered between Lucas and his attacker, strobing lights adding to chaos while a speaker emitted piercing alarms. More importantly, it began recording everything in high definition. "What is that thing?" Travis shouted, swatting ineffectively as the drone darted around. With insect-like agility, "Get it," Cole commanded, barely audible over sonic assault. The hallway became chaos, flashing lights, disorienting sounds. 6 teenagers stumbling like they were trapped in a high-tech funhouse. Security arrived: Mr. Peterson and 2 staff members, drawn by alarms and shouting. "What's going on?" Peterson demanded over the audio deterrent. Lucas pressed deactivation, and sudden quiet was almost as disorienting as the chaos. The drone returned to his backpack with mechanical precision. "They attacked me," Cole said immediately, though his disheveled appearance undermined his words. Peterson looked around. 6 healthy teenagers looking confused, 1 wheelchair student sitting calmly with visible hands. Evidence didn't support Cole's version. "Lucas, what happened?" "I was heading to robotics when they surrounded me," Lucas replied truthfully. "My navigation device detected a threatening situation and activated alarm protocols. I turned it off when you arrived." Peterson nodded. He'd been briefed about Lucas's navigation device. A defensive system responding to threats was very different from an offensive weapon. "Cole, why were 6 of you surrounding Lucas in a deserted hallway?" Cole's mouth opened and closed, searching for explanations that wouldn't incriminate him. "We were just talking. We have the right to walk down hallways. 6 of you needed to talk to 1 student." "With no witnesses?" Peterson's expression made his thoughts clear. "I think you gentlemen need to come with me." As security escorted Cole's group away, Emily Hart emerged from around the corner where she'd apparently watched everything. "That was incredible," she said quietly, eyes wide with amazement. "I've never seen anything like it." "Just technology," Lucas replied, though he couldn't suppress a small smile. Nothing complicated. Emily nodded, but her expression suggested she understood this was anything but simple. For what it's worth, they had it coming. I'm glad someone finally stood up to them. As she walked away, Lucas felt a fundamental shift. The bullying wasn't over. Cole would be more determined than ever. But the dynamic had changed irrevocably. Lucas was no longer helpless, no longer defined by limitations. He was a force to be reckoned with. Monday morning brought a Lincoln High that felt different. As Lucas navigated hallways, he noticed changes in how students looked at him, not with pity, but with curiosity and grudging respect. Weekend gossip had transformed Friday's encounter into legend. Some versions claimed robot armies. Others suggested Pentagon hacking. Lucas made no effort to correct exaggerations. If people wanted to believe he was a technological wizard, that reputation could provide its own protection. Cole and friends had received 3-day suspensions for intimidating behavior toward a student with disabilities, a charge that infuriated Cole but which Principal Green deemed appropriate. Their absence created power vacuums other students quickly noticed. Lucas. Kevin Martinez, a sophomore who'd never spoken to him, approached with fascination. "Is it true you built a defense robot?" "Just navigation assistance," Lucas replied carefully. "Nothing too exciting." "Still way cooler than anything Cole Dawson ever did," one boy said as they walked away. The comment reminded Lucas that Cole's reputation was significantly damaged. Being publicly humiliated by someone categorized as weak had undermined his social powers foundation. Students were questioning previously fixed hierarchies. In physics, Emily Hart had moved from her usual backseat to the desk beside his wheelchair station. "How are you holding up?" she asked quietly as Mr. Rodriguez prepared lessons. "I heard Cole's making threats about what he'll do when he returns." Lucas had heard the rumors. Cole was furious about suspension and blamed Lucas entirely for his damaged reputation. Threats included everything from violence to getting Lucas expelled for possessing weapons. "I'm prepared," Lucas replied simply. The Guardian protocol had been upgraded again with improved threat detection and new defensive capabilities. More importantly, he documented everything, creating detailed records of every incident. "Can I ask something?" Emily's voice barely whispered. "Why now? You've endured their bullying for years. What changed?" Lucas considered the question. "I got tired of being helpless. I realized that just because I can't fight back the way they expect, doesn't mean I can't fight back at all." Emily nodded thoughtfully. "My little brother gets bullied. I tell him to tell teachers or parents, but he says it makes things worse. Maybe there are other ways." At lunch, Lucas found himself in an unusual situation. People wanted to sit with him. A table that had been his solitary domain for 3 years suddenly hosted 6 students, all curious about his invention and eager to share bullying stories. Mia arrived to find her usual spot taken by Jason Chun, explaining his torment by wrestling team seniors. Her expression mixed happiness at seeing Lucas accepted with concern about being displaced. "Mind if I squeeze in?" she asked, though there wasn't really room. "Of course," Lucas said immediately, shifting to make space. "Jason, this is Mia, my best friend since elementary school." Jason nodded politely, but Lucas saw subtle dynamics. His new admirers viewed Mia as part of his old victim life, rather than his current empowered phase. They were respectful but not welcoming. An intercom announcement interrupted lunch. "Lucas Crane, report to the principal's office immediately." A hush fell over the table. Lucas felt his stomach drop. Principal Green had been supportive, but perhaps Cole's parents were applying pressure. "Want me to come?" Mia asked, but Lucas shook his head. The walk felt longer than usual, students watching with obvious curiosity. By reaching Principal Green's door, Lucas had prepared for worst-case scenarios: expulsion, criminal charges, complete destruction of everything he'd built. "Come in, Lucas. Take a seat." Principal Green was thin and serious, with a reputation for fairness but little tolerance for disruption. She studied Lucas before speaking. "I've been receiving interesting phone calls over the weekend. Parents want to know about this robot their children claim you built. The school board is asking safety questions. And I have a reporter wanting to do a story about the student who outsmarted his bullies." Lucas felt his heart sink. Media attention was the last thing he wanted. It would make him a bigger target and potentially expose his system's true capabilities. "I'd prefer to keep my projects private," he said carefully. "The device is just navigation aid with basic safety features." Principal Green smiled for the first time. "I thought you'd say that. Which is why I've told the reporter we don't discuss individual students' assistive technology. And I've assured parents that all disability-related devices are reviewed by appropriate staff." Lucas blinked in surprise. "You're protecting me?" "I'm protecting a student who found a creative way to ensure his safety. The bullying report suggests you defended yourself against 6 aggressors. That you did so without anyone getting hurt is impressive." She leaned forward, expression becoming serious. "But Lucas, understand something. Cole and his friends won't let this go. When they return, they'll be angry and embarrassed. You need to be prepared for escalation." "I understand," Lucas said. He did. The war was far from over, if anything, just beginning. But for the first time in 3 years, he was entering battle with weapons matching his intelligence rather than physical limitations. Leaving the office, Lucas felt relief mixed with determination. He had all eyes now, not just among students, but among adults supposed to protect him. The Guardian Protocol had done more than defend him. It had fundamentally altered Lincoln High's power balance. Cole would return to find a very different school than he'd left, and Lucas would be ready. 3 days of suspension felt like 3 years to Cole Dawson. Stuck at home while Lincoln High continued without him, he obsessively checked social media for updates. What he found deepened his anger and humiliation. Videos of the hallway incident had surfaced showing Cole and friends stumbling in confusion, while Lucas sat calmly. Worst were the comments, hundreds celebrating Cole's humiliation and praising Lucas's ingenuity. "Karma finally caught up with Cole," read one heavily liked comment. "About time someone put him in his place." Another simply said, "Brains over brawn, every time." Cole threw his phone across his bedroom, watching it bounce off the wall. His parents were furious about suspension, threatening grounding and cutting car privileges. His father, a successful businessman valuing strength and dominance, was particularly disappointed. "I didn't raise you to be embarrassed by some crippled kid with a computer," his father said during tense dinner conversation. "Figure out how to fix this, or I'll figure out how to fix you." Meanwhile, Ryan Cole experienced his own conscience crisis. Unlike others in their group, Ryan had grown up with Lucas' same elementary classes, same little league team before Lucas's accident. He remembered Lucas as funny and creative, building elaborate Lego structures and sharing lunch with anyone who forgot theirs. The transformation into Wheels, their dehumanizing nickname, had been gradual and convenient. It was easier bullying someone when you thought of them as less than human, focusing on limitations rather than personality. But watching Lucas defend himself so effectively shattered that comfortable fiction. The device represented the same creativity Ryan remembered from childhood. It forced confronting uncomfortable truth. They weren't picking on a helpless victim but tormenting someone with more intelligence and talent than any of them. The breaking point came when Ryan's younger sister Sarah saw the videos online. She confronted him over breakfast Tuesday morning, expression mixing disgust and disappointment. "Is that really what you do? Pick on kids who can't fight back?" "It's not like that," Ryan said defensively, though he knew the words were false. "It looks exactly like that," Sarah replied. "Everyone at my school is talking about how my brother is one of the bullies who got owned by the smart kid." Do you know how embarrassing that is? Wednesday brought Cole's return to Lincoln High, and hallway atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Students whispered and pointed as he passed, expressions ranging from nervous excitement to barely concealed glee. The king was back, but his crown felt less secure. Cole's first priority was reassembling his crew and planning responses to restore his damaged reputation. He found Travis and Zack near the gym, but their enthusiasm for confronting Lucas seemed notably diminished. Maybe we should let it go, Travis suggested when Cole outlined revenge plans. He didn't really hurt anybody, and getting suspended again would definitely get me kicked off the team. Let it go? Cole's voice rose dangerously. He humiliated us in front of the entire school. We humiliated ourselves, Ryan said quietly, appearing behind them. 6 guys surrounding one kid in a wheelchair. How did we think that would look? Good? Cole spun around, expression incredulous. What did you just say? I said we made ourselves look weak, and stupid, and cruel. I've been thinking for 3 days, and I can't figure out why we thought any of this was okay. For a moment, Cole was speechless. Ryan had been his most loyal supporter, the one person he could count on without question. This betrayal felt almost as devastating as Lucas's public humiliation. You're seriously taking his side? Cole asked, voice dangerously quiet. I'm taking the side that doesn't involve bullying people who never did anything to us, Ryan replied. Lucas was our friend once. Remember? Before the accident, before we decided he was different. The confrontation was interrupted by approaching footsteps. Lucas appeared around the corner, heading toward his locker with usual calm demeanor. But something was different, now confidence in his posture, directness in his gaze that hadn't been there before. Cole felt anger surge, all carefully planned strategies forgotten. Without thinking, he stepped into Lucas's path, hands clenched. We need to talk, he said, voice carrying down the hallway. Lucas stopped and looked up with mild curiosity. About what? About the fact that you think you're so smart, you can embarrass me and get away with it. Other students gathered, sensing another confrontation. But this time, crowd energy felt different. Instead of eager anticipation of Lucas's humiliation, there was genuine curiosity about how this would play out. I didn't try to embarrass you, Lucas said calmly. I defended myself when you cornered me in an empty hallway. If that embarrassed you, maybe you should think about why. Cole's face flushed with anger and shame. The rational part of his mind knew Lucas was right, that humiliation was largely self-inflicted. But admitting that would mean acknowledging everything he'd built his identity around was fundamentally flawed. This isn't over, he said, though even as he spoke, he could hear how hollow the words sounded. It is for me, Ryan said, stepping away from Cole's group. I'm done with this, all of it. As Ryan walked away, Cole felt his world shifting. His loyal follower had abandoned him. His reputation was in tatters. And the kid he'd tormented for 3 years was looking at him not with fear, but with something that might have been pity. For the first time in his life, Cole Dawson felt truly powerless, and he had no idea how to handle it. The showdown came not in hallways or courtyard, but in the school library during study hall. Lucas was working on programming assignments when Cole approached, moving with careful deliberation. This time, Cole was alone. Travis and Zack had found excuses elsewhere, and Ryan's defection left Cole without his usual support system. Can we talk? Cole asked, voice lacking its usual aggressive edge. Without the devices and stuff. Lucas looked up, studying Cole's face for deception. What he saw surprised him, genuine uncertainty and something that might have been vulnerability. The Guardian protocol was active, monitoring continuously, but Cole's body language suggested this wasn't an attack. Okay, Lucas said, gesturing to the empty chair across from him. Talk. Cole sat heavily, swagger replaced by awkwardness that made him seem younger and less threatening. For a long moment, he stared at the table, struggling with where to begin. "I don't understand you," he said finally. "I've been thinking for days and I just don't get it. You could have gotten revenge. Could have really hurt us with that thing you built. But you didn't. Why?" Lucas considered the question. "Because hurting you wouldn't have solved anything. It would have just made me a different kind of bully. Besides, the goal wasn't to hurt you. It was to protect myself." "But you humiliated me," Cole said, voice barely above a whisper. "In front of everyone. My dad, he's furious. Says I'm weak for letting a—" He stopped before completing the sentence. "For letting a cripple outsmart me," Lucas finished. "Is that what you were going to say?" Cole's face reddened, but he nodded. "Yeah, and the thing is, he's right. I am weak. Not because I lost to you, but because I needed to pick on you in the first place." The admission hung between them. Lucas felt surprise and something that might have been respect. It took courage admitting weakness, especially for someone whose entire identity was built around appearing strong. "Why did you," Lucas asked, "start bullying me, I mean? We weren't friends before the accident, but we weren't enemies either." Cole was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion he'd apparently been holding back for years. "Because I was scared," he said. "After your accident, seeing you in that chair, it made me think about how quickly everything could change. How one moment you could be normal, and the next you could be different. And being mean to you made me feel protected somehow. Like if I could put distance between us, then it couldn't happen to me." Lucas stared, processing this unexpected revelation. He'd assumed the bullying was about power, about Cole feeling superior. He'd never considered it might be about fear. "So you made me into a symbol," Lucas said slowly. "Something to be afraid of and hate, instead of someone to feel sympathy for." "Yeah," Cole said miserably. "And once I started, it became easier to keep going. You never fought back, never complained, just took it. After a while, I convinced myself you didn't really mind. That maybe you deserved it somehow." "I minded," Lucas said quietly, "every day. Every insult, every time you knocked my books over, every time you made me feel less than human. I minded all of it." Cole's face crumpled, and for a moment, Lucas thought he might actually cry. "I know," he whispered. "I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The apology was raw and genuine, stripped of casual cruelty that had defined their relationship for 3 years. Lucas felt his anger he'd carried so long it had become part of his identity begin to shift and change. "I don't forgive you," he said, and Cole's face fell. "Not yet. An apology doesn't erase 3 years of torture, but I appreciate you saying it. It helps me understand why it happened." Cole nodded, accepting the conditional response. "What would it take?" "For you to forgive me, I mean. Is there anything I could do?" Lucas thought about it. The easy answer would be demanding public humiliation, forcing Cole to experience the same shame he'd inflicted. But that would just perpetuate the cruelty cycle. "Change," he said finally. "Really change, not just apologize. Stop thinking of people like me as lesser. Use whatever influence you have left to protect people instead of hurting them. And maybe help me figure out how to keep this from happening to other people." "What do you mean?" Cole asked. Lucas gestured toward his laptop, where he'd been working on code far more sophisticated than homework. "The device I built, the Guardian Protocol, it was created for my situation. But the principles behind it, the idea of using technology to level the playing field, that could help a lot of people who feel powerless." Cole's eyes widened. "You want to build more of them?" "I want to build better ones," Lucas corrected. "Devices that could help any bullied student, regardless of physical limitations. Systems that could detect and document harassment, provide evidence to authorities, maybe even prevent confrontations before they escalate. That's... Cole paused, searching for words. That's incredible. You could help thousands of kids. We could help thousands of kids, Lucas said pointedly. If you're serious about changing, about making amends, then help me do something positive with what happened to us. Cole sat back, considering the offer. It was a chance at redemption, an opportunity to transform his reputation from bully to protector. But it would require completely reimagining his role in the school's social hierarchy. Okay, he said finally. Yes, I want to help. I don't know anything about technology, but if there's something I can do... There is, Lucas said. I need to understand how bullying works from the other side. What makes someone target a particular victim? How do group dynamics amplify individual cruelty? If I'm going to build systems to prevent bullying, I need to understand the psychology behind it. Cole winced at the clinical way Lucas discussed his behavior, but he nodded. I can help with that. And maybe I can talk to some of the other guys, Travis and Zack, some other athletes. Help them understand what we were really doing. Lucas extended his hand across the table. Partners? Cole stared at the offered handshake, then reached out and grasped Lucas's hand firmly. Partners. As they shook hands, Lucas felt something fundamental shift in his worldview. The Guardian Protocol had protected him from physical harm, but this conversation had done something even more important. It had helped him reclaim his humanity, and Cole's as well. The war between them was over. The real work was just beginning. The transformation was visible within a week. Cole Dawson was doing something unprecedented, apologizing to people he'd wronged over years. The apologies weren't grand gestures, but quiet, personal conversations in hallways and classrooms, during lunch and after school. Cole sought out students he'd intimidated, teammates he'd hazed, underclassmen he'd made feel small. Some accepted graciously. Others were skeptical, waiting to see if change was real or manipulation. A few flatly rejected his attempts, wounds too deep for quick healing. Cole accepted all responses with surprising humility. Meanwhile, Lucas found himself approaching. Popular, students who'd previously avoided him now sought him out, not from pity but genuine interest in his projects. The robotics team gained several new members, eager to work with the student who had defeated bullies with science. But the most significant development was collaboration between Lucas and Cole on what they'd begun calling the Guardian Project. What started as personal defense was evolving into something with broader applications. The key insight, Lucas explained to Mr. Thompson during after-school meetings, is that bullying follows predictable patterns. There are warning signs, escalation behaviors, environmental factors that make incidents more likely. Thompson studied the flowchart Lucas had created on the whiteboard. So you're creating an early warning system? More than that, Cole interjected from a nearby workbench where he was learning basic electronics, large hands moving surprisingly delicately as he wired LED indicators under Lucas's guidance. We're designing intervention protocols. Ways to de-escalate situations before they turn violent. The partnership between former enemies had become Lincoln High's talk. Some students were inspired, seeing proof that people could change and conflicts could be resolved. Others remained skeptical, viewing Cole's reformation as temporary or calculated. Mia fell somewhere between. She was genuinely happy seeing Lucas gain recognition and respect, but worried about the speed of his forgiveness and the nature of his new partnership. Are you sure you can trust him? She asked during one of their increasingly rare private conversations. They sat in the robotics lab on Friday afternoon, watching Cole explain sensor principles to two freshmen who joined the team. Trust is earned, Lucas replied, adjusting prototype detector sensitivity. But so far, he's done everything he said he would. More than that, actually, it was true. Cole had not only apologized to victims, but begun actively intervening when he witnessed others bullying. His status as former antagonist gave him unique credibility with potential bullies, while athletic achievements meant they couldn't simply dismiss him as weak. Just the previous week, Cole had confronted seniors harassing a freshman in the locker room. Instead of using intimidation, he'd engaged them in conversation about what they were actually trying to accomplish, forcing them to confront their behavior's arbitrary cruelty. "I just want to make sure you're not setting yourself up to be hurt again," Mia said softly. Lucas looked up to meet her eyes. "Mia, what I've been through taught me something important. Holding on to anger and fear doesn't protect you. It just makes you smaller. If Cole can change, if we can work together to help other people, then something good comes out of all those years of misery." Before Mia could respond, Emily Hart appeared in the doorway. She'd become increasingly involved in the Guardian Project, contributing insights about bystander psychology and social dynamics that enabled bullying. "Lucas Cole," she said, voice tight with urgency. "You need to see this." She led them to the computer lab, where students had gathered around a terminal. On screen was a news article from the local paper, "High School Students Anti-Bullying. Technology Attracts National Attention." Lucas felt his stomach drop reading the opening paragraph, which described his revolutionary defensive device in terms, making it sound far more advanced and militaristic than reality. The article included quotes from unnamed sources claiming he'd built robot bodyguards and automated revenge systems. "This is bad," he said quietly. "Really bad." Cole read over his shoulder, expression growing concerned. "It makes you sound like some kind of mad scientist. And your device sounds like a weapon." The article described increasing militarization of school conflict resolution and questioned whether students should be allowed to build defensive technologies without adult supervision. It quoted a school board member expressing concern about escalating arms races between students. "Who talked to them?" Lucas asked, scanning the student crowd. "Who gave them this information?" Principal Green appeared in the computer lab, expression grim. "Lucas, I need to see you in my office. Now." The walk felt like a death march. Lucas found himself surrounded by whispered conversations and pointing fingers as words spread. By reaching Green's office, he felt like he was back to being a target, just for different reasons. "Sit down," Principal Green said, closing the door. Her desk was covered with printed emails and phone messages, apparently all related to the news article. "We need to talk about how we're going to handle this." "I never spoke to any reporters," Lucas said immediately. "I don't know how they got their information." "I believe you," Green replied, "but the damage is done. I've got parents calling to demand your device be confiscated. The school board wants full investigation, and the district's legal department is asking liability questions." Lucas felt his carefully constructed world beginning to crumble. "What does this mean? Are you taking away my project? Kicking me out of robotics?" Green was quiet, studying papers on her desk. "Lucas, I want you to understand something. What you've accomplished goes far beyond a simple school project. You've created something that could genuinely help people. And you've managed to transform one of our most problematic students into an advocate for positive change." She looked up with an expression mixing admiration and concern. "But you've also created something that scares adults who don't understand it, and scared adults tend to make bad decisions. So what do we do?" Lucas asked. Green smiled for the first time since he'd entered. "We get ahead of this. Tomorrow you're giving a presentation to the school board about the Guardian Project. You're going to explain exactly what it is, what it isn't, and how it could be used to make schools safer for everyone." Lucas felt terror mixed with excitement. "A presentation? To the school board?" "You and your partner," Green clarified. "Cole's transformation is as much part of this story as your technology. Together, you represent something powerful. The idea that conflicts can be resolved, that enemies can become allies, and that intelligence and empathy can triumph over fear and aggression. As Lucas left the office, he found Cole waiting in the hallway, expression anxious. "How bad is it?" "We're giving a presentation to the school board tomorrow," Lucas said. "About the Guardian Project, about what we're really trying to accomplish." Cole's face paled. "Public speaking isn't exactly my strong suit." "It's not mine either," Lucas admitted. "But this is our chance to control the narrative. To show them that what we're building isn't about revenge or escalation. It's about protection and prevention." That night, Lucas worked until nearly dawn, preparing a presentation that would either secure the Guardian Project's future or end it forever. As he refined slides and practiced talking points, he reflected on how much had changed since that first day when Cole had called him Wheels. He was no longer just a victim or survivor. He was an innovator, a leader, someone who could inspire change in others. Tomorrow would determine whether that change could extend beyond Lincoln High's walls. The school board meeting room had never felt more like a courtroom. Lucas sat at the front, laptop connected to a projection screen, while a dozen board members, administrators, and community representatives watched with expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism. Behind him, the audience included his parents, Mr. Thompson, Principal Green, and surprising numbers of students who'd asked permission to attend. Cole sat beside him, fidgeting with index cards covered in handwritten notes. Despite days of preparation, he looked nervous about speaking to such a formal audience. But his presence was crucial. The Guardian Project story wasn't just about technology, but transformation and redemption. "Before we begin," said Dr. Patricia Williams, the school board president, "I want to clarify this presentation's purpose. We're not here to put anyone on trial. We're here to understand what's been developed, assess its appropriateness for our school environment, and determine how we can best support our students' safety and creativity." Lucas felt some tension ease. This was opportunity, not interrogation. "Thank you," he said, clicking to his first slide. "My name is Lucas Crane, and 3 months ago, I was just another student being bullied in your hallways. Today, I want to tell you how technology, understanding, and forgiveness changed everything." The presentation began with data statistics about bullying rates, psychological impacts on victims, and traditional intervention methods' ineffectiveness. Lucas had done research, and numbers painted a stark picture of a problem affecting millions of students nationwide. "The Guardian Protocol started as personal defense," Lucas explained, showing photographs of his original device. "But it was never designed to hurt anyone. Instead, it focused on 3 key principles: detection, de-escalation, and documentation." He walked the board through technical specifications, explaining how the system used multiple sensors to identify threatening behavior patterns. But he also emphasized the non-harmful nature of responses, sounds, and lights, designed to attract attention and disorient aggressors without causing injury. "The most important feature isn't any of the technology. It's the recording capability. The device documents every incident, providing objective evidence of what actually happened. This protects both victim and accused by establishing facts rather than relying on conflicting testimonies." Dr. Williams raised her hand. "Lucas, I have to ask the obvious question. Why didn't you simply report the bullying to teachers or administrators? Why feel the need to build your own protection system?" Lucas glanced at Principal Green, who nodded encouragingly. This was the moment for complete honesty, even if it made adults uncomfortable. "Because the traditional system failed me," he said simply. "I tried reporting bullying during freshman year. I was told to be more mindful of others and leave for class earlier. The message I received was that my harassment was somehow my fault for being in the wrong place at the wrong time." A murmur went through the room, and Lucas saw several board members exchange glances. He pressed on. "I built the Guardian Protocol because I needed to know I could protect myself when no one else would. But more importantly, I built it because I realized that if I was experiencing this, hundreds of other students were too. Cole cleared his throat, indicating it was time for his portion. With visible effort, he stood and addressed the room. "My name is Cole Dawson, and I was one of the bullies Lucas just described." His voice was steady despite obvious nervousness. "For 3 years, I made his life miserable because I thought it made me powerful. I was wrong." Cole's portion focused on bullying psychology, the insecurity and fear driving students to hurt others, group dynamics amplifying individual cruelty, and how institutional indifference enabled ongoing harassment. "What Lucas built didn't just protect him," Cole said. "It forced me to confront what I was really doing. When my usual tactics stopped working, when I couldn't intimidate him anymore, I had to ask myself why I needed to intimidate him in the first place." He described his transformation, the process of apologizing to victims, and his current work with the Guardian Project. His voice grew stronger as he spoke, passion overcoming discomfort with public speaking. "We're not just building devices," he said. "We're building a system that could help any student who feels powerless. And we're proving that conflicts can be resolved, that people can change, and that enemies can become allies." The presentation concluded with their vision: a school-wide pilot program providing Guardian devices to any requesting student, combined with counseling and mediation services for both victims and aggressors. The system would collect bullying pattern data, helping administrators identify problem areas and intervene before situations escalated. "The goal isn't to militarize student interactions," Lucas said in conclusion. "It's to democratize protection and create accountability. When everyone knows that harmful behavior will be detected and documented, when victims have tools to defend themselves, when aggressors have opportunities for redemption, that's when we create truly safe schools." Board members asked questions for 30 minutes, ranging from technical specifications to legal liability concerns. Lucas and Cole answered as a team, their partnership evident in how they built on each other's responses. Finally, Dr. Williams called for brief recess while the board deliberated. Lucas and Cole were escorted to a waiting area, where they found themselves surrounded by supporters. Mia hugged Lucas tightly, while Emily and other students congratulated them on their presentation. "That was incredible," Mr. Thompson said, pride evident. "You two have created something special. Regardless of what the board decides, you should be proud of what you've accomplished." 20 minutes later, they were called back into the meeting room. Dr. Williams stood at the podium, expression neutral as she addressed the crowd. "After careful consideration, the Lincoln High School Board has reached several decisions regarding the Guardian Project," she began. "First, we recognize that our existing anti-bullying policies have been inadequate, and we commit to comprehensive reform of our intervention and support systems." Lucas felt his heart pounding as she continued. "Second, we approve a limited pilot program for the Guardian Project, to be implemented under strict adult supervision and with appropriate safeguards. Lucas Crane and Cole Dawson will work with our technology department to develop protocols for device deployment and incident response." The room erupted in applause, and Lucas felt tears of relief spring to his eyes. They'd done it. The Guardian Project would continue, would grow, would help other students who felt as helpless as he once had. Finally, Dr. Williams said, raising her voice over the celebration, "We want to commend both students for their maturity, creativity, and commitment to positive change. They've shown us that our students are capable of solving problems that adults have struggled with for generations." 6 months later, the Guardian Project had expanded to 3 other district schools. Lucas had been invited to present at a national education conference, while Cole had started a peer mediation program reducing disciplinary incidents by 30%. More importantly, both young men had discovered something they never expected to find in each other: friendship. Not the easy camaraderie of shared interests, but the deeper bond that comes from surviving conflict and choosing growth over resentment. As Lucas navigated Lincoln High's halls, the same halls where he'd once felt powerless and alone, he reflected on the journey that had brought him here. The Guardian Protocol had given him tools to protect himself, but it was the choice to extend that protection to others that had truly set him free. He was no longer just Lucas Crane, the kid in the wheelchair. He was Lucas Crane, the innovator, the problem solver, the student who had proven that intelligence and compassion could triumph over fear and cruelty. And for the first time in years, that felt like enough. Up next, we have 2 more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch, and it will take you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot.